Welcome back to this another great episode of Scaling Vision. Today I have an interesting guest with me, and this is probably one of the best conversations I've ever had. This is about schooling. There is a new school that has come up in Nagpur, Centrepoint International, and this lady is killing it. Her first batch of students just got into Manchester, Newark, NYU, Georgia universities. From Nagpur, she is bringing Cambridge education to Nagpur. And recently, in a national publication, she wrote, India teaches to test. Something is fundamentally broken about our education system. Let's find out more with this conversation. I am your host, Dr. Sameer Gade. I am a cataract, phaco-refractive and glaucoma surgeon at Ananddeep Netralaya. Thank you for watching. Hi ma'am, welcome to the podcast. Thank you for taking time. I'm really happy you're here.
Great, it's an honor and a pleasure.
Thank you. So before I deep dive into everything that we're going to talk about, what drew you towards education as a career?
Very frankly, it wasn't a very planned and a conscious decision.
Yeah.
It just happened to me.
Okay.
Education happened to me because I think it probably started with the times when I was little and instead of playing ghar ghar, I used to play teacher. And then when I was bringing up my kids, I read this book called Toto Chan. Okay. Where it talks about a school that was started by an educator in a train.
Okay.
So that was another decisive point for me. And third is when I started teaching my children, I felt that one needs to get into the education system to bring some changes.
Right.
So I think progressively education as a career happened to me.
So did you always know you would lead a school, or did leadership just find you?
No, I never knew, like I said, it was not a planned journey at all. I just followed my conviction and my passion. And a title came to me. Leadership, I think, is something that happens to you whenever you do anything excellent in your task, you know. So if a teacher is teaching, has done an excellent job in the classroom, she's a leader of the classroom.
Right.
If you baked one of the best breads in the kitchen, you are the leader in the kitchen.
Obviously.
Right? So title happened over a period of time, but if you're following your passion, you're always a leader. So it wasn't a planned journey.
Right.
Yeah.
What was your own experience of schooling like?
Oh, it was beautiful.
Okay.
It was beautiful. I was very fortunate to be brought up in an environment as far as my family and my schooling is concerned, in a very progressive educational, approach. So I remember I'm talking about my school 50 years back, right? And in kindergarten, in 50 years back in those days, I remember playing in a playpen with a lot of sand and working out my alphabets, which we do now. Right? So I was always in that kind of setup. Having said that, of course, I also had my little downs where a teacher would come and tell me, even before the class would start, and she would tell me and my friend that, please go out, even before starting the class, because we would be asking questions, too many questions. But overall, it was a beautiful experience. Fabulous.
Where did you study actually? Your schooling, where did it come from?
This was my primary and my middle school years were in a school called Gujarat Law Society in Ahmedabad.
Right.
And it was one of the best. See, everyone feels their school was one of the best.
Obviously.
But truly, now when I reflect back as an educator, it was definitely one of the best. Because in those times, I'm talking about 1980s, in those times, it followed a very, very progressive approach, as much as one can in those times.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I think that is what helps make children think about. I think, the more staunch the school is, the more rigid the students become in their thinking later on. The more the progressive the school is, the more you are open to a lot of new things, is what I feel.
Yeah. When there is, I think when there is fearlessness, that is part of your teaching, learning processes, immediately doors open up.
Yeah. True.
So the moment you start training children to be fearless, to be curious, to allow them to question, have conversations with them, it all comes together, and that's what brings in an environment of true education.
Yeah. Let's go down the rabbit hole now. Nagpur has a very strong CBSE culture. Why Cambridge? What was the thinking process?
So, the founder of Centrepoint School International, Mrs. Aruna Upadhyay, a much loved teacher and an educator in Nagpur, right? And I think she's always been very progressive, and she's been a visionary in her thinking, right? So when she brought Cambridge to Nagpur, I'm sure it was because she felt that the future economy and the thinking pattern of the youth needs to change, right? So irrespective of which city you are in, if the present and the future requires a certain kind of thinking abilities, and the youth needs to start being more progressive in their approach, you need to bring that approach of education to any city, whether it's Nagpur, Mumbai, Pune, Gadchiroli.
So when Mrs. Upadhyay started this, would you know, did she face any kind of resistance from parents, the system, the market? Was there any resistance that was encountered?
I won't know that for sure,
right.
But probably there may not have been resistance, but there could have been a little bit of skepticism, right? And but she also, I know she had a following of parents who believed in her convictions, who believed in her ability to see in the future as to what children require, right? So I'm sure she got a lot of support from these parents, and fortunately for her, soon enough, I mean, she started this in 2018-19, the Cambridge branch of Centrepoint Group of Schools, and then soon enough, she also got an amazing partner in Lighthouse Learning Group of Schools. The co-founder of this company is Mr. Prajod Rajan, and he also is an extremely progressive educator. I would call him an educator entrepreneur, right? They had a shared vision. They shared what is required for the child, and they both believe in child first philosophy. So then Mrs. Upadhyay gave her little baby to Mr. Prajod Rajan, and now Centrepoint Group of Schools is flourishing under Lighthouse Learning Group of Company.
So for anybody who is watching this and they are very confused, what does Cambridge usually do different from CBSE in terms of concrete daily practices? I will take you down deeper into this, but at a very superficial level.
Right. See, now with NCF and NEP coming in, right? As far as what is documented, right? The goals of education when it comes to bringing in the 21st century skills. I mean, it's a statement that all of us are making. It's become quite cliched, but it's a fact that you need a range of thinking skills to be developed in the children, right? Rather than just, physical skills or skills of doing. Right? NEP is aiming towards doing this.
Okay.
Right? The intention is there, and it's a sincere intention. Okay. Some schools, especially in the private sector, have started applying the policy decisions into their daily teaching learning processes. But in my earlier, somewhere I've also spoken about it being implemented at an uneven pace, right? So as far as our Indian education system is concerned, the integrity towards this aim is definitely present, but it will probably take some time, and it varies in degrees and quality and speed from geographical location to from private to public education system, and from state to state, because of the political intervention, probably justified. Right, so that is a different thing. When it comes to Cambridge, okay, the range of thinking abilities that I am constantly referring to, right, starting for, if you look at the pyramid of thinking pyramid, right, it starts with the basic of recalling and remembering, going to understanding and comprehension, then going to analysis, synthesis, evaluation, imagination, creation, right? This pyramid is embedded in the systems of Cambridge teaching learning process.
Repeat that again.
Right? So let's look at the pyramid of thinking.
Yeah.
Okay, which we need as educators and trainers, we need to constantly refer to this pyramid, because this is what is the crux of your teaching. Okay, we start with recall and remembering, basic skill, thinking skill. Okay, we move to understanding and comprehension. I've understood. Right, now I'm moving to analysis. Whatever I've understood, I've taken in, but I need to analyze it. I need to deconstruct it. What I saw was constructed. I need to deconstruct that. Right? Then I'm moving to synthesis. After filtering through the deconstructed, I'm going to take what I feel and I know is right, and I'm going to synthesize that and again reconstruct it. Okay? Now I'm moving ahead. I'm going to evaluate something that has been given to me. Okay? Understanding biases, perspectives, prejudices, right? Intentions, ulterior motives, everything. So I'm going to evaluation. Now, I'm also need to build imagination for something that is not there in your ecosystem, right? I have to imagine things, something that I can dream of, which is purposeful, which is concrete, and which is substantial. This imagination, when you develop, you create, right? Our Indian education system...
It does not promote that.
Needs to promote that.
I know. I quickly understood what you were saying.
Yeah, it needs to promote that. So if you want creators and innovators, if you want Indians to not stay at the level of managers and followers, right? And you want the real made in India to happen, it boils down to teachers taking the entire pyramid in their classrooms. Yeah.
So fascinating when you put it that way.
It has to go down to your pre-primary, grade 1, grade 2, grade 3 onwards, right?
Okay.
So formation, how you rewire your brain to ensure that you're creating citizens for made in India is something that all teachers need to start thinking.
So what is the honest trade-off? What does a Cambridge student lose if he or she loses anything?
See, a good school, right, would always consolidate or bring together the best practices of all education system.
Understood.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. For example, when I say recall and remembering is at the baseline of your pyramid, I'm not saying that it is not necessary. That is also very important because that's important for your mechanical memory.
Yeah. Base,
right?
The base has to be the strongest in a pyramid.
Yeah. So a good Cambridge school will not say that, oh, because I'm working on the analytical abilities and the critical thinking and training them for imagination, I'm not going to train them on recall and remembering. If a school does that, then a Cambridge student loses out, right? So a good school, whether it is a Cambridge school or a CBSE school, will look at what is the core of education and will build its curriculum based on that, right? In the formative years. And then, of course, as they go higher up, you do move towards little bit of teaching towards testing. That's the bane to an extent of our systems across the globe. It's not as if the US does something else or the UK does. Everyone teaches to test, because ultimately you have to have your 3 A stars to get into the best of universities, right? So, but before we get into that rut of teaching to test, we need to, in the formative years and in the middle years, we need to think this out properly, create a beautiful curriculum which brings the best of all from the systems, and say that, okay, I'm going to ensure that it's a truly holistic education system, because this word holistic is being used very loosely.
I was about to say that.
Yeah. Have we really created a curriculum, trained our teachers, and brought things at a micro level in the school? Everyone needs to think out.
What would you say to a parent who's kind of apprehensive about changing CBSE? He or she is on the fence. I want to go to Cambridge, but I don't know, confused. What would you tell that parent?
Yeah, I think very important, Dr. Gade, is for every parent to have conversations with the right people. You know, what happens is there are always myths going around. I'll tell you few myths. Very typical, and no one is to be blamed for this. But these are common conversations that we tend to have, at coffee tables or outside the gates of a school. Right? And they are thrown around very loosely and generally, and we believe them, which is what is incorrect, right? So as aware, educated parents, what we need to do is that go to the right person, understand the micro of every curriculum, and importantly, every school, because a beautiful Cambridge curriculum can go crazily wrong in a school which is not understanding Cambridge well. A CBSE curriculum can be done beautifully in a school which knows the essence of true education, right? So parents need to go to the right people, have meaningful conversations, ask 100 questions, go dive deep down, ask for examples, right? Go back home, think it out, and then say, okay, this is what I'm going to take. Like I'll tell you typical myths that go around in conversations. If you want to go abroad, then you should do IB curriculum. Or you should do Cambridge curriculum. No, irrespective of where you want to stay. A curriculum aims at rewiring your thinking skills and transforms your child to be a different kind of adult, a different kind of learner. Look at that, right? A CBSE curriculum trains a child to give competitive exams, right? Did Einstein think of equations differently for CBSE, IB, this thing? No. So the content is same, right?
How you teach it is different. Maybe.
The conceptual understanding is same, right? If certain boards trained children for certain kind of competitive exams, why do children go for classes after school? Stay in the school and learn. That's the curriculum is teaching you, right? It is the skills which are important, right? And different boards have different advantages, disadvantages. It needs, and none is better than the other. They are all great.
Yeah.
Or they can be all bad. It all depends on how the school is implementing it, right? The most important thing, in well-informed, educated conversations between two partners, the parent and the school.
Right.
That's it. That's the bottom line.
So if some parent is, again, I'm coming back to that, sitting on the fence, and they would like to talk to somebody who's going to explain to them what to do, who should they talk to?
Go to an educator whom you trust on, let's say, CBSE curriculum, an educator whom you trust on a Cambridge curriculum, an educator who who trusts you, whom you trust for an IB curriculum. That's one thing. You research, you write to Cambridge, you write to, because today so much is available, whether it be podcasts for people like you who are bringing that information to the world. It could be wherever. I mean, you have information everywhere.
Yeah.
But it is very important after reading up, then go to people who will give you the true picture and remove the biases and the prejudices. So it's a combination of different research engines. That is what it is.
Let's talk about the NEP 2020.
Right.
You wrote in the BW Education that NEP's pace of alignment is uneven.
Yeah.
What does that look like on the ground?
Like I said earlier, that NEP has already... So let's look at the leaders and the laggards. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
Right? In some of the schools... they have already started implementing NEP beautifully, right? They could be private schools, right? They could be schools in different states. But there are also laggards in that, in this system, who've not touched NEP at all. They've not even understood the essence of NEP, right? Now, the reasons could be different. Like I said earlier, it could be due to geographical reasons, right? Some states may not be doing it, right? It could be because of funding. It could be because of paucity of availability of teachers, right? It could be because of leadership, right? So that's why it is a little uneven, right? And very importantly, I mean, if as an educator, I loved NEP, very frankly. We need to also bring it to the core. That is, we need to bring it into our assessments. The day we start assessing our children on all the way we are thinking, I mean, in the progressive manner, right? That's when we'll be able to implement progressive education in the true sense. Because like I said, at some point we are going to teach to test.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the testing has to be progressive for the teaching to be progressive.
True. I understand. But I was reading that article and you said, and I'm going to quote you, a true change requires a collective willingness to let go of rigidity.
Yeah.
To let go of rigidity.
Yeah.
Who specifically is the most resistant? The teachers, the boards, or the parents? What do you think?
I think it's combination,
It's
Dr.
combination
Gade.
of
Absolutely. It's completely combination. Okay, let me put it this way.
Yeah.
Because you put this point across earlier, right? CBSE culture and the skepticism or the fear to try out a new approach. That is rigidity.
Yeah.
Right? With teachers, concentrating only on syllabus and the what and when of things rather than going into why, just because the why will take up some time to teach in the class. That's rigidity.
But in a CBSE school, I'm trying to understand if a student has to make a switch, it's like, I don't know, it's a very wrong analogy I'm trying to make. You go to an ice cream shop and you're confused about the flavors. You say, give me a taste of each. And then you decide this is what I want to have. Is there some way possible that students or parents get a taste of each board somehow before they can make a pick? I'm just wondering out loud. I don't know how that works in real life.
Yeah, so your analogy is not completely wrong,
Yeah.
right? Okay. What would you do? You would probably taste the coffee ice cream and the strawberry ice cream, and you would say, okay, today I feel like having coffee ice cream. Okay, you would have that. And then after some time, maybe few months, you would say, no, let me try that, and you may like that also.
Yeah.
Right? And over a period of time, you would feel that, no, I'm more of a strawberry type. I realize that. And then you would decide that, okay, strawberry is what is going to stay with me, right? Similarly, if you are in the CBSE system, right? Or you are in the Cambridge system, okay? You have to have the willingness that if I am in Cambridge today and I want to
adapt.
try out CBSE, no, I'm saying both ways, right?
Okay.
If I want to try out CBSE, let me take that risk at the right time in my life. Yeah, I'm not talking about grade 10 or grade 12, right? But the right time of my life, I want to go and try it out for a year, right? And if it doesn't work out for me, I'll come back.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. Similarly, if you're in CBSE and you want to know about Cambridge and you've read up a little bit on Cambridge and you feel that, yeah, this is me, you know, I want a thinking curriculum. Let me try it out. I'll come back. And
you switch for a year, maybe.
Absolutely, and there's nothing wrong. You know, we are so used to a linear way of education system that from this year to this year to this year to this year, and then I will do this. Planning is very good, but we are too planned. We are not risk takers, you know, as Indians, and we need to do that.
You also
to
said
evolve.
that assessment needs a revolutionary change. What does that mean, actually?
Very frankly, Dr. Gade, it means a lot. Lots of things, you know, lots of things. So I really won't be able to cover everything, and we are doing, even in our Indian education system, we are doing quite a few things, you know, continuous assessment, we are doing formative assessments, we are doing, you know, summative assessments, all that is there, right? But we also need to bring in quality in these so-called listed or recorded assessments that we have. Simple thing. I'll give very simple examples, right? If we are doing project-based learning, right? Or problem-based learning, right? And we are saying, okay, our assessment is based on project-based learning or problem-based learning. We as educators, first of all, need to know the difference between project-based learning and problem-based learning.
Yeah.
Okay, that's one thing, right? Suppose if we say, okay, problem-based, project-based learning, and we are going to do models and structures with our children, right? But if we give it to them to do it at home, and if our parents are doing it, or we are hiring people to do our projects and models, where is the assessment?
Makes no sense.
You know, what has assessments also is about diagnosis, right? So the teachers are not able to diagnose then. Let's look at another thing. When we talk about continuous assessments, even continuous assessments in our systems are tests, class tests, review tests, right? Continuous assessment also is about able to observe the child's progress or regress from the homework sheets that we give, right? Now, when we send the homework sheets home, and if a tuition teacher is going to sit with the child and do the homework, what is coming back to the teacher as the diagnosis is not the ability of the child.
It's not fair.
Yeah. This is what I mean by assessments, is that we do not do continuous assessment in its true sense. So assessment is not about class tests and term exams, and you see, assessment is on a daily basis. It could be your class worksheets, homework sheets, your discussions, your debates, just observing a silent child in the class. Silent child doesn't mean nowadays. I mean, I may be digressing from your main question, but I'm just making this organic the way it's coming. Many times we have people saying that, you know, he or she is an introvert, right? And it almost in today's visibility world, being an introvert almost seems like a thing not to be. Yeah. But it's a known thing that a listener and an observer gathers much more intelligence than an extrovert who needs to speak every time. Yeah. So that again is an observation of a teacher, that this child's mind is running and he's thinking out something. So an introvert or a listener will always think and process information better because an extrovert or who wants to speak is thinking of what I'm going to speak next to this. Whereas a listener is thinking and listening to what is being said. And he's processing better. Right? Even this needs an ability of a teacher to observe and write down this as an indicator in the progress report, saying that he's a great learner, he processes information very well. Because if the teacher doesn't have an ability to observe correctly, the teacher may end up writing, he is a very shy child.
True.
That is wrong assessment. So when I talk about assessments, I'm talking about this is the deeper quality of assessment that we need to bring.
I'll draw a parallel here. My mom works in medical education technology. She's done PhD in this. And she kind of curates what MBBS students need to be taught around. So there are these two skills on which students are assessed. I don't know if I'm remembering it correctly or not. Those are OSCE and OSPE.
Yeah.
These are two assessment tools my mom works very hard on. And I've seen when she's implemented these in her own curriculum, suddenly the level of students have gone up leaps and bounds. I've seen that happen over the years. So you're trying to do the same thing probably in Cambridge as well, is what I'm thinking.
Yeah. It's a comparable point.
I'll give you a very simple thing. In MBBS, MBBS is 3 parts. First MBBS is 1 year, second MBBS is 1.5 years, and third MBBS is 2 years. You start your clinics in the second year, like the first half of second year. You go to the hospital, you're just observing things. You're not allowed to interact with the patients. Whenever the senior says, okay, this is palpate the bone, this is how the bone feels like, this is how the tissue feels like, you do that. But my mom was like, this is too late. Why don't you, simple process, BP lena hai, heartbeat sunna hai. Why don't you do this in the first year? And amazing results were found. As an MBBS student, you have to differentiate between different heart sounds. S1 and S2 bolte hain. A first year was able to do that. Jo pehle, I used to do it in third year. You were able to distinguish different heart sounds in the first year itself. So suddenly a child is you feel confident. Suddenly that I'm doing what my seniors did at a later age. So their interest also increases, and their ability to learn more things also scales up.
Absolutely, completely. And this is again, Dr. Gade, something that we need to bring into our educational goals. Okay, is that we tend to think that, at grade 1 and grade 2 at primary stage, children will not be able to grasp the higher order thinking skills. So many times I end up hearing things like, your curriculum is too complex, or you're teaching too much, or in a nice way. I mean, no one is... But what we need to understand is that children at any age are capable of taking in higher order thinking skills, even the skills of evaluation, if it is taught in an engaging manner and it is age appropriate.
Right.
So like your mother did, is brought it down to an age where it was required, but it was taught in an appropriate manner. Right.
True.
So
I'm going to ask you a difficult question. You work inside a school which is indirectly backed by a PE firm, right? And PE firms usually benefit from measurable, scalable, and accessible outcomes. Are your reforms on assessment in tension with the business model you operate on?
Not at all. It's not a difficult question for me. The reason being that the authorities that surround me, they are extremely supportive of what I believe in, what I create, what I design, what I curate, and what I implement. So I have been very fortunate in that it's a shared vision. If it was not shared vision, I would not have been there.
Yeah.
So no, it's there is no tension at all for me. I'm very, very fortunate.
Very
that
nice.
way. Yeah.
So let's talk about AI and education.
Yeah.
You have proposed about a bold idea about introducing AI to as early as a class 3 student.
Okay.
So, what is the thinking process, please?
Right. So, just one small correction here
Yeah, sure.
is that I did not propose. There was a proposal, and I kind of, when I was asked an opinion about it, I said, yes, it's a bold and a welcome step.
Okay.
And I stay with that. I stay by that. My only thing is that my definition of AI or my concept of AI in school is little different from what general perception could be, right? When we talk of AI in schools, we only think in terms of tools of AI. Right? When I welcome AI in schools, it's not so much of tools as much as the developing the thinking skills to man these tools well, right? So, few things that come to my mind is, let's say, suppose, how am I going to use the AI, right? One is to solve a problem, right? Now, when you're using that to solve a problem, you have to have the thinking ability to take a big problem and deconstruct it, right? And into small, measurable, quantifiable, specific instructions, tasks, and everything, right? Where does this ability come from? It comes from
the thinking pyramid.
Absolutely. From an adult who has been trained in his formative years to deconstruct a problem and analyze a problem, deconstruct it, and synthesize it to construct again and give the correct instructions. Giving correct instructions, that also is an ability. How do you sequence your thoughts and express it in correct communication, precise language with keywords? Okay, that comes in the school. You have to teach that skill to the child, right? What are the other skills of using an AI? Data evaluation, right? You have so much information at your fingertips, right? The ability to sift through that, filter through that, see the biases, understand the prejudices, look at perspectives, right? Take what is valid, justifiable, and create your thoughts around it, right? Data evaluation, again, is a skill that we need to bring into the school.
True.
Right? Ethical thinking, adaptability, unpredictability, right? Resilience. These are all skills of, a mind which is able to use the AI properly. So for me, AI in school is, again, I always go back to thinking skills. And if anyone were to ask me what is Cambridge curriculum, I always say it's a thinking curriculum, and that is the core of everything that we need to do, even AI.
But technology is only as good as the humans who are guiding it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But who is training those humans? I mean to ask, how are you training the educators of the Cambridge, the teachers at various levels? How are they given tools to up their game? Even they have to up their game.
Yeah.
How does that happen?
Yeah. So if I were to talk about action plan, one is, there is lot of exchange of ideas, debates, pedagogies, theories, knowledge, right? In any school, I mean, since you're asking me, I would speak of my school,
obviously,
right? Yeah. So in my school, there's always lot of volatile exchange of ideas and knowledge, and we're constantly having knowledge-based meetings, right? It could be meetings of differentiated learning, it could be differentiated instructions, it could be personalized learning modules, it could be BANI, BANI, it could be VUCA theories. Okay, great. So one is that itself is a huge learning, and I would call learning equal to training. Right. Another is that if we have, because we belong to the Lighthouse Learning Group of schools, we're fortunate that under that we have more than 45 plus schools, right? So imagine the number of educators that come together on one platform to demonstrate, share, debate, discuss. That is another form of learning, right? We are also members of some extremely good knowledge platforms as far as Cambridge schools are concerned. So we are members of MISA, we are members of TICE, we are members of many ISSO, and we've applied for a few more, where knowledge partners come together and they put their lesson plans out. And so that is a lot of, and again, then we have a proper, concrete Cambridge training that is done by Cambridge trainers. It could be online, it could be physical. So that is how we are constantly learning. And for me, learning is equal to training.
True. Yeah. But what is your school, CBSE, is doing? What are you doing with the AI integration for students? Are you using the bold step which you recommended? Are you implementing that?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, that thinking skills is like is the motto of our school, right? Whether it's for children or it's for teachers, right? And hence, many times it could also be like a question mark for many because thinking skills are intangible in nature, right? Yeah. It takes time for transformation to happen, right? So there could be people who may be worried that ma'am is saying thinking skills, but what is happening, we don't know. It's all happening here, right? So that is one part of AI training for my kids, right? Again, the beauty of Cambridge curriculum is that it's always contemporary in nature. Okay? It retains what is conservative knowledge, right? But it always updates itself almost every 6 months if required, or on an annual basis. So they've already brought in the theoretical knowledge of AI as a subject in the computer science curriculum. Yeah. Okay, right from the early years. That's second vertical. The third vertical is I've created something called a Makers Lab in the school, which we are initiating from this year itself. And the head office, the curriculum department of Lighthouse Learning Group of Schools, they have created a curriculum wherein AI has been integrated into the curriculum goals of Makers Lab. So that's the third part that's coming into the school. Yeah.
Is there a risk that integrating AI into a child's life early makes them great at retrieval but bad at genuine thinking?
It could be if it's one-sided. Okay. Like I said, if you do not develop the requisite, thinking skills, and if the child does not understand that I am the master here and AI is just a tool, then there is a danger, right? So if you don't develop their critical thinking, their analytical thinking, their evaluation abilities, and then the learner can become a servant to AI, because he will stop thinking or she will stop thinking and run to AI to think things out for himself. And the worst part is that the AI will think the way you give it instructions. So if your instructions are inadequate, the AI is also going to think inadequately. Yeah. So that is what is the danger.
As an ophthalmologist, I worry about screen time and myopia. It is mostly a silent endemic that is happening around the world.
Yeah.
That is the visible consequence of screen times. But a deeper concern about excessive technology use is also how the child processes the world. I think about this. So what is the cognitive argument against rushing AI early in school?
See, again, this is like I said, AI is not about screen all the time.
Understood.
Isn't it? So, for me, I won't even think of this danger, because I don't relate AI to AI is equal to screen, right? For me, AI in school is very different. It is about developing those key thinking skills and the ability to use AI. So you don't require gadgets to be able to use AI. So when one thinks that gadget is equal to AI, that is where you've got the
Everything wrong.
understanding of AI wrong. Yeah. So for me, screen time doesn't come in when it comes to AI.
Okay, right. Let's talk about the Joy Quotient.
Yeah.
First, explain what you mean by the Joy Quotient.
Like I said, Joy Quotient in schools, right?
Yeah.
Or in education, the ability, a school which fosters fearlessness, right? Which fosters democracy into teaching learning systems, right? Which fosters curiosity, okay? Self-paced learning. These are all joyous moments, right? When we say, so if we say that a school where there are these photographs, right, of children squealing and children with iPads and this and that. Those are very outer expressions of joy, which could be true or may not be true, right? But a child who says that the teacher is teaching friction, but I want to know about force, right? Or I want to know about something completely different. And the ability to, I'm giving a very, seemingly insignificant example. But the ability to question and be curious, and that curiosity being addressed, is joy, right? The ability of a school to make learning engaging is joy, right? The kindness and the mindfulness of a teacher, or for that matter of a principal, is joy, right? When it comes to our education, our idea of what a leader of a school should be, or of someone who is strict and prim and proper.
No.
Well, there are. Probably now it's changed, but once upon a time it was like that, right?
We had a lovely principal.
Yeah,
Mrs.
absolutely.
Shastri. Oh
Absolutely lovely. I had one, but I am talking about the masses. I'm now talking about the some of the good. Right. So for me, that is not joy. That is not joy. The ability of a child to walk into my room and say, "Ma'am, you're allowing grade 5 to go for a trip, right? Or grade 6 to go for a trip, and you're not sending on an outdoor trip or 4 days." And if I were to say, okay, convince me, and I will allow. And after 3 days, they come with a long essay, and they write the essay such that I'm convinced. For me, that is joy.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because they had the guts to do. Yeah.
Oh my God.
So I had to make it a policy to send. Them having the guts to walk in and respectfully say that this is wrong, and will convince you with an essay which their English teacher has taught, is joyous.
And you approving it is also joy. And a lot of time it would end at, okay, nicely written, I'll think about it maybe next year.
No, I didn't have a choice. I had promised that you convince me, we'll do it.
No, a lot of time teachers go back on their words. That happens.
So democracy in a school for the right reasons is important.
But that, Cambridge also demands a lot of rigor while learning.
Yeah.
So you have to put in the efforts as a child, right?
Yeah.
How do you balance that with the joy quotient?
So I'll tell you, the rigor is not about learning definitions by heart.
That makes no sense.
Right? So when the rigor is about cramming up lot of content, right? That is what is not joyous. But if the rigor is about going deeper into a curriculum and analyzing things, interpreting them, and being able to express in your own way. There is no cramming there. There is rote memorization to a small extent, right? But when you have the freedom to understand the concept and put it all out there, then the rigor is meaningful. Yeah. So therein there is less stress. It's not that there is no stress. I would be wrong if I were to say that there is no pressure or stress on a high schooler, right? But the stress is meaningful.
You have often said that, questions are as much valued as answers.
Yeah.
But we come from a society when excessive questioning is always punished. I've experienced that in my school days. I experienced that at now a lot of times in my life, even now when I'm close to 40. When you ask a lot of questions, you're somehow put down. So did you build a culture where questioning is safe, is my first question.
Yes, very much. Behavioral, so when we talk about personalized learning, right, one of the major verticals of personalized learning is understanding behaviors, right, and then responding to each child differently, the way the child would learn the best, right, or we can hold the child well, right. So when it comes to questioning, there could be all kinds of learners. Some would question irrelevantly, probably to distract the class. Some would question because they genuinely have not understood, right? Some would question beyond the scope of the curriculum. It takes all kinds, right? It is for a teacher to understand the philosophy and the culture of the school, to know when to discourage questioning, right? When a child is questioning to distract, or a child is questioning to test the teacher's ability or content, or the child is being disrespectful, there is a kind but a firm way of directing the child to ask properly. That's one way of handling, right? And another way of handling is that if the child is asking genuinely, right, not only do you reply, but you also encourage, saying that, have I answered your question correctly? Do you want more? Please meet me afterwards. Because the teacher is also finishing her curriculum, right? Or maybe the child wants to go to the highest level of understanding, but the others are feeling lost in the process. So questioning the culture is definitely encouraged, but it also has to be handled properly. It's not as if everyone keeps on questioning irrelevantly or disrespectfully. That is also not done.
I'll just share a memory that popped up in my head right now. I was very great at studies, and I still have this ability. I don't need to rote learn. I read once and I just somehow retain it. I had a lot of problem with organic chemistry in my 9th standard. And we had Mrs. Krishna Kannan. She had a wonderful way of teaching, but somehow I had hit a mental wall with those double bonds and valencies and things. I have troubled her so much during her classes. She eventually had to say, if you don't understand, write it down on a piece of paper, let me finish my class, come during lunch hours.
Yeah,
because I have lot many classes to take. Come during lunch. She has skipped her lunch hours just to sit with me and put an end to my curiosity.
Absolutely.
I was very flabbergasted and I was very frustrated. I can't understand this, and I don't like when I don't understand anything. I wanted to put an end to it. She understood that. She made sure she wasted 3 of her lunches. She did not have food. I realize this now. That she made sure that this was completely satisfied. I mean, I understand that.
That's a true teacher. Yeah.
So what is the most, have you ever seen a child's complete personality being changed in a joy-based learning?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a progressive change, right? But it's from timidity to confidence, That's a change that I've seen in some children. From overconfidence to wise confidence is also what I've seen, right? From chaos and confusion to calmness is also I've seen. So in a joyous learning environment, right, personalities transform to come to a balanced level, right? It's not that everyone becomes confident or everyone starts speaking immediately, right? In a joyous learning situation, which is accompanied by the right kind of education, right? Children transform to reach their highest potential. So if you're a listener, you will become the best listener ever. It's not as if you will immediately start being a speaker, right? And that is what a comfortable school should be like, is that let the child be happy with oneself, right? And bring the child's potential to the maximum level.
As an ophthalmologist, it's a daily business to look at the retina behind the eye, which is usually the extension of your brain. Your retina is a neurological tissue extending from the brain. There is clear evidence that children who are anxious, they somehow see less. It has been factually factored in. There is a lot of evidence to this. So I'm thinking, is the Joy Quotient not just a pedagogical philosophy, but a neurological necessity? What do you think?
Absolutely. Completely. Absolutely. I mean, now that you've put it out there, it definitely is. Completely.
So, let's talk about parents. I know this is difficult for you, but for any parent, what is each board made for? What is state board made for? What is CBSE made for? What is ICSE made for? What is Cambridge made for? I'm not trying to put a hierarchy to this in any but what are the pros of each board that they bring to the table, and how this, I mean, just go for it as neutrally as you can. I want to start by
I'll tell you. Okay. Okay, tell me what.
I want to start by saying what I understand is,
right.
I come from a CBSE background. I've had friends from state board as well. But I've never had so much of interaction with them academically. I switched my board after 10th because I had to go for my medical entrance, and it was a trend. If you're going for medical, it is best you shift state board.
Yeah.
I realized what I learned in my 10th, what I'm learning in my 11th, 12th, in state board has already been covered in 9th and 10th in my CBSE board. So there was not much of learning per se for me in PCB had physics, chemistry, bio. It's literally the same thing. In fact, some things were even less. This is what my personal experience was. Also, I came from where we were made to think a lot by our teachers. It was not a lot of rote learning.
Your school did it for you.
Yeah. So we were never focused on rote learning. I think state board focuses more on rote learning, and I had two friends from ICSE board where I think it was more of a language-based thing that they focused on, or humanitarian side of it. I'm not sure if I'm reading this correctly.
Yeah, you are. Definitely. I mean, the way you are approaching it is absolutely correct. So one is, we must understand that every board is designed on certain goals. They could be political goals, they could be administrative goals, they could be goals for the society, the way it was at that point of time, right? So hence the content and the context of every board will differ from that, right? As a result, some boards, as far as, let's say, content is concerned, right? Some boards will have the length of a particular content. Some boards will have the length and breadth, right? Some boards will have length, breadth, width, and the depth of that content, correct? right? So that's one thing. So content, it's not like I said earlier, right? Friction is not going to change from one board to another, but how much of friction and why of friction will change, right? As to why are we teaching friction in a particular board, it could be just to understand the concept, right? In a particular board, it could be to understand the concept and how it applies in your real life surroundings, right? In another board, it could be concept, that is content, context, that is application of it in your real life, right? And it could be the future economy in Mars could be like this. Can you create something understanding friction for the tomorrow?
Yeah.
That is futuristic curriculum. So some board does that. And that's why when I say that Cambridge is a thinking curriculum, I look at it that way. Is that if you want creators, you need to have a thinking curriculum, right? So the content is same. But like I said, the length, breadth, width, depth is one thing. Yeah. Another, the learning objectives and the assessment objectives would differ from one board to another, right? Some boards would concentrate on what, where, when of questioning. Some boards would say what, where, when, how, why.
Yeah.
You're going deeper, right? Some boards would do away with, and I'm now talking with reference to my school, right? Some boards would start doing away with just why, with what, when, where, after a certain stage, and would go into command words such as explain, describe, justify, evaluate, demonstrate, analyze, synthesize, right? So one board differs from another in its learning objectives and in its assessment objectives, right? It doesn't differ in its core content.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
So I'm going to I'm again putting you on the spot over here. There's a couple who's had their first child and is around 2.5 years old, and they decide we are confused. We don't know what to do, and they come to you. Ki help us pick. What are the first few questions you would ask them?
The first is I would ask them, have you researched on the different boards, and what have you made out of the research? So I would want to know what they understand of each of the boards, right? Where their confusion is, where their chaos is, or there may be no chaos at all. So that's my first question. My second question is, where do you see your child, right? So if they say, I want my child to be a doctor, I know what I need to, what kind of conversation that I need to have, right? But if they say that I want my child to develop a range of thinking skills, right? I want my child to be resilient, right? Be able to adapt to unpredictability in life, right? I want my child to, evaluate and create things, okay? That's a different kind of parent. So I would have a different conversation, right? One thing is for certain that for me, Dr. Gade, it's not about CBSE, ICSE, SSE, this thing. These are things which, yes, for the sake of administrative sake, that's all there, and the curriculum is there because of the need of the population for which it is made, correct? Right? For me, when I would speak to the parent, I would speak of what should be the educational goals of the parent and the school. And then I would leave it for the parent to make a decision. That if these educational goals do not match my understanding of educational goals, then this is not a school for me. Okay. Or this is not the board for me.
Right. What role does financial reality play in education? Do you think Cambridge is a premium product structurally made to exclude the middle class?
Here you've put me in a spot.
I know.
See, what happens is it's a very situational thing that happens. One thing leads to another. Because the learning objectives and the assessment objectives and the educational goals of Cambridge curriculum are of higher order, right? The makers of this curriculum, right, come with certain expertise, right? Those who implement the curriculum come with certain expertise, right? And both these require a certain kind of quality, content, exposure, global knowledge, right? And that costs, right? That's one thing. Another is every board has an affiliation fee, correct, right? These fees differ from board to board. So that costs, right? Third is when you're talking about a deep curriculum, okay, and when you're talking about different kind of pedagogies, right, there are tools required. When I say that I want to bring AI into school, I am not just talking about the thinking skills and the tools, but also creating a space where children can tinker, explore, construct, deconstruct, make, break. Space costs money.
Yeah. I get that.
So yes, Cambridge schools are more expensive. For that matter, it differs from school to school. I know some of the CBSE schools in our country which are far more expensive than many of the Cambridge schools.
Yeah.
So it depends on what kind of facilities that you give, what kind of teachers that you have, what are the educational goals that you're bringing in the school, right? So that's one thing. Your second question was subtracting the masses, right? Okay.
Oh, that's a good word.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to that day when the entire country moves towards thinking skills along with the skills of doing, right? So that would include the masses.
Yeah.
Then. Yeah. So let's hope that all curriculum move towards these learning objectives.
You've known me for quite a while. We've had a few interactions before.
Yeah.
And I've come from a CBSE background. What had I been introduced to Cambridge in my life earlier, what extra would I have achieved? What is your assessment?
I'll need to know you a little more for that. But I think maybe over a period of time, Dr. Gade, the fact that you have been brought up in a global manner, right, and a progressive manner, that would have made a lot of difference. And also, one must understand that today where you are, right, with your thinking skills, it's a journey of not just school but also college.
It's a cumulative experience,
right? So you've had time after your schooling, a considerable time after your schooling, to be exposed to higher thinking skills through situations, through your college life, through your practice, right? And you've adapted through the unpredictable situations that you've had in your life, right? So probably had you met me after in school or immediately after school, I probably would have been able to tell you that better. Right. But today it's been a culmination of.
I know. But I have seen the top, I've seen rock bottom, and this is me now.
Yeah,
Anyways,
and because you've seen rock bottom,
Yeah.
you've had the chance to, use your thinking skills.
Yeah.
You were allowed to fall and then bounce back. Yeah.
Let's talk about VUCA and BANI. First of all, what are these things?
So these are things which we require for future, for present and future in our children. Okay. So BANI is, let me just get this right.
Brittle,
BANI is brittle,
anxious.
anxious, non-linear, and incomprehensible, right? This is the world that we are predicting for our children of today, right? It's going to be a brittle world, right?
I get that.
Okay, it's going to be cutthroat. It already is, right? It's going to be a world of anxiety where there is so much happening and suddenly it's just going off, right? It's going to be non-linear. Everything is not going to be in a sequence.
Yeah, I get that.
You need to journey through the maze. And it is incomprehensible. It's so complex, right? Every day, some new information, new knowledge is coming up, right? It's taking time for the brain to grasp, process. This is the world that we are living in today, and it will become bigger and bigger. Yes. BANI, okay? We will be able to train our children to take care of this world only if we bring in a sense of resilience. Yeah. And I'm giving you again very simple, seemingly insignificant examples here. Okay, let's talk about brittle. Okay, right? We have to walk the balance when we talk brittle and anxiousness, both anxiety we are talking about, okay, here. We need to walk the balance right when we say emotional security for our children. How much emotional security? Are we protecting them too much? Are we mollycoddling them? Are we hovering around, to see to it that they get the best of everything emotionally, physically, this thing? Or are we saying, okay, this is enough to tell him or her that everyone has his back, but let him plunge and let him fail, let him fall, let him understand rejection. Let's not, let's not create such a comfortable world for him or her. Yeah. Right? That's important.
There was this saying, tough times create tough times create tough
absolutely,
people.
Absolutely.
Easier times.
Absolutely. The moment a child is in a new class every year with new people, you are training the child for unpredictability. You are training the child for brittle world because they're not best of your friends. You have to make efforts to
every time.
Yeah, to be accepted, to be nice, to be friend, and everything.
Yeah.
So these are lessons of life. Simple thing. In every parent, in every school, what is desired always is a question paper pattern. Okay? Revision is done, same pattern should be given of the format. If you are asking a particular question, just turn that question around a little bit and give the similar kind of question so that children are ready. This is wrong. You're not teaching children for unpredictability. True. So even this expectation from the population and a practice of the teachers to give a pattern to predict what is going to be coming. Wrong training.
I talk about this with Shweta a lot, that what is going to define the leaders of tomorrow or people who make it in life in the next 10 to 15 years is the ability to pivot careers within a few days.
Yeah.
and to be able to see ahead of the curve.
Yeah.
These are two things that will help you.
Yeah.
Maybe these two skills will help you like float around
Yeah.
nicely, comfortably.
Yeah. We need to train our children definitely a lot on unpredictability.
Yeah.
That is something that we are not doing it as educators and our systems, and we need to do that.
But what is the VUCA part?
So again, VUCA is actually a subset of BANI,
Okay.
right? It would be again unpredictability. We are looking at is why am I not getting it? Let me just. VUCA. C is definitely, I think, critical thinking. And let me just write it down.
No, that's fine.
I think, yeah, I think is volatility.
Uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity.
Correct. Absolutely. So it's all a volatile world, right? It's an, ambiguous world, right?
Uncertain,
the last A is ambiguous.
Uncertain and complex.
Absolutely. Complex and uncertain. Like I said, that it is...
It's the same thing as BANI,
That's why I said it's a subset of BANI. Everything is moving so fast, and it's a volatile world out there.
And we have always said resilience and adaptability are lifelines.
Yeah.
And they are not optional anymore.
Yeah.
You need to do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
What do you think about mindfulness, journaling, sports, and arts? As a country, do you think we underinvest in it?
So sports and arts, I don't think we underinvest. We've invested it correctly, and I'm seeing in the past few years we are investing in it more and more as a country, and also because as a country we're investing well. It has always been kind of in the schools also very well done. Now, how is a question, and we need to probably rewire the way we do the how of art and design. Okay, but as far as mindfulness and reflective journaling is concerned, right? Yes, that is something that we don't do, and we need to do that. Reflection is again a very, very important skill, because it leads to metacognition.
True.
Reflecting on what we did, how we thought, right, how we performed, actually is the first step towards metacognition. That is knowing how you're thinking. Because when you know how you're thinking, or thinking about your own thinking, when you know that, you have the ability to rewire your thinking, and you improve by yourself.
It's called as neuroplasticity, if I'm remembering it correctly.
Yeah.
Probably. In medicine, we train for uncertainty. There is, every day is a different clinical picture. We call it clinical judgment. You cannot give a flowchart to a doctor ki ye hua to ye hua to ye karna hai. We basically train ourselves for any kind of ambiguity and the ability to change in every situation. Is this what you're trying to change in
Absolutely,
your
completely. And these are all overlapping attributes.
Yeah. Nice. I enjoyed this conversation.
Me
One
too.
rapid fire before I let you go. How would you describe the Indian education system currently?
Give me choices.
No, it's a rapid fire. Just pick a word.
How would evolving?
Evolving, yeah.
Yeah.
NEP 2020, is it a revolution or just mostly optics?
No, it is a revolution.
It's a revolution.
It is a revolution.
A subject every school should teach, but they aren't.
Theory of knowledge, theory of thinking, perspectives.
I think first principles is very important.
Yeah.
What is the most amazing quality that defines a teacher?
There are many, but if you are saying that only one, I would begin with sincerity. Because if you're sincere, you will ensure that out of that sincerity, you will bring in a lot of other things.
I have so much to think about after this because I have a few ideas. I'll write them to you afterwards. My brain is on a hyperdrive right now. I've consumed a lot of new things.
Great.
But wow, I love this conversation.
Thank you so much. I loved discussing this with you.
Yeah.
In fact, many of the thoughts that probably were there in my mind somewhere behind, probably they've come to the forefront today.
Right.
So thanks for that.
Thank you again for picking up, giving me a time of your busy schedule.
No, it's been a pleasure.
I hope in the future, as your schedule permits, we can pick up a topic,
Yeah.
a single topic, whatever you like, we decide upon, and we go down the rabbit hole deep about it.
Yeah.
In terms of education, why not?
Yeah, absolutely.
If somehow we can make people understand more about the things that you guys are doing, let's do that.
Absolutely, completely.
Yeah.
Completely. Would be my pleasure to do
Yes.
that.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.